Hi, this is Diana Carr from Be Well Health Coaching. I'm here today with my friend Marianne Moore, who is a skincare advocate and BeautyCounter representative. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the self-care benefits of a good skincare routine. So, hi, Marianne. Thank you so much for
Hi.
coming.
Hi, thanks for
Um,
having me. I'm excited to share what I know.
yes. So let's just dig in. And first, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you became so passionate about skincare?
Sure. So passion, I think is strong. My background is actually public relations and business development. And the reason I became passionate about skincare was because as my daughter started studying environmentalism and humanities, and as a backdrop to her engineering, she opened my eyes to different ingredients and different chemicals, honestly, that I had never considered. And my blinders literally just came off, and I was using a different brand. And I had a friend who was just like, I won't use that. And I literally said, so what do you use? And she said, BeautyCounter. And we kind of left it at that. And she talked a little bit about it. No, not selling or anything, just like on her experience from an ingredient standpoint. And I realized that there was just so much to learn. And if at 49, so 2 years ago, maybe a little earlier than that, 45 or so, I didn't know, there was just a lot of other people that had no idea what they were putting on their bodies.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so interesting that you say that because, as someone who reads food labels so
Right.
diligently and understanding like what goes into my body from a
Right.
food perspective, I have been, I didn't used to look at like skincare labels and try to understand like what goes into that from,
Yeah.
Lotions and makeup and all of these products. And so I think it's been really educational for me too.
Yes. Yes. And
Um,
that's literally how I got into it. It was just like, it's been a great experience, just been eye-opening.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, why is skincare such an important part of like an overall wellness routine?
So I think there's two things. We just touched a little bit on how important it is what we put on our bodies, not just what we eat, but in our bodies. People don't realize the amount of products that we use, from hair dyes, any lotion you put on your nails, creams, like our whole bodies are covered in skin. And the reason for that is to protect our organs. Skin itself being an organ, right? You shed it, it dies.
Right.
You want it to regenerate. So just like you take care of your diet and you take care by exercising, it's just as important for us to take care of our skin. So it should become, even if it's a small habit, it really should be part of how we take care of ourselves as a whole. Don't just think of, right here, and people worry about wrinkles. No, it's not about that. It really is about just the benefit overall. That's one. The other thing is that it also gives us time to pause. So mentally, it's important for us to take care of our skin. I mean, how good does it feel literally just to put on a moisturizer or rub nice lotion on your elbows or your feet? All of those things gives us time to take a moment for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, my skincare routine was non-existent a few years ago. And it's just not something that I grew up really,
Right.
Following. And I always thought it was overcomplicated and I didn't understand all the various products. And I know we've had so many conversations
Right.
Over this past year and a half or so, and trying to understand like, because now I understand the benefits. And so, and it really doesn't have to be a complex routine. It can be a couple
No.
simple steps, but it makes all the difference. Like I've noticed a tremendous benefit to my skin. It's clearer, it's younger looking, it's softer.
It's brighter.
Yeah,
So
it's
you
amazing.
look and you feel brighter when you're, especially on your complexion, right? It's one of the first things you show other people about yourself. So, it's just noticeable, just like when we smile, right? It makes a difference, and that's the serotonin and so forth. Same thing with it. And again, it doesn't have to be complicated. And we can talk about that, right? So it does not have to be complicated, but it is definitely important from head to toe.
Yeah. And it's an important habit to create and start by, and I think even for me, when I was starting to buy the beauty counter
Mhm.
products and
Right,
starting to establish my routine, I stepped into it. I was like,
right.
okay, I'm going to get like the cleanser, and
Mhm.
then I'm open to like a serum. And then I was like
Right,
adding these little pieces, and I'm sure there's probably still pieces of the routine that I'm
absolutely.
missing, but it doesn't overwhelm me because I did it small steps at a time, which is the same type of philosophy I tell my clients with any sort of behavior change. It's
Mhm.
you need to do it like little at a time. If
Right.
you go out and buy 20 skincare products and think you're gonna like
You're not gonna
revolutionize your
use
routine
them.
overnight, you're not gonna use it. And
Right.
then it's a waste of money because they're just sitting on the counter.
And then
But
you
if you
go
kind
back
of,
to your old habits. So one of the
exactly.
things I always ask people, and you know this, I say, well, what do you use? Like, what is it? Are you washing your face? Because I was
Mhm.
always surprised how many people don't do that. But the benefit of that one simple habit to start is that you're
Yep.
taking away the dead layers of skin off of your, and we're talking face, but again, your whole body. And,
Yep.
there's 4 main steps. And yes, you can add, as many as you want, but I always say
Mhm.
people, a good facial cleanser, a good moisturizer, and I'm a big fan of night creams because you
Yep.
put them on and you don't even think about it again. And then you just feel, you literally feel, it's not just about the look, but you feel so much better about yourself overall.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I was definitely one of those guilty people who would sleep with their makeup on. I like am embarrassed to admit. But I would just, I would be tired and I would
Right.
just go to sleep, and then I would wake up and I'd be like, well, I'm gonna shower in the morning so my face gets clean then. But then all that stuff was just sitting and like like seeping into my
Exactly.
skin overnight. Now I'm like religious about it. Every night I'm like, I'm gonna wash. Like it's like a good, and it only takes me a few
It
minutes.
takes a few minutes.
But then I feel great. Like then
You
I
do.
feel clean and
Yes.
refreshed from the day, and it's really great.
Yes. The
So
refresh part
what,
is awesome.
yeah. So tell me a bit about like what the physical and mental benefits. I know you touched on this a little bit, but like that are
So
associated with like consistent skincare.
So I think with consistent skincare, you're going to notice, right? I just mentioned 4 steps. It's cleansing,
Mhm.
a toner or an essence, your serum, your moisturizer. So it's cleanse, treat, prep. There's 4.
Moisturize. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cleanse, prep, treat, and the 4th one, which is basically a night cream. Um,
Mhm.
Nourish basically. So I think the benefits from a physical and mental, right? That's what you just asked me. So I think
Yeah.
basically it's just easy. Creating those habits help us in both ways. Help us showcase ourselves in a better perspective. It helps us feel better about ourselves. And mentally, I think it's so important, even when you have the dog in the background or the kids are running around, you can just say 2 minutes,
Yeah.
I'm washing my face. And if that is all you do, that is one step forward. I I'm a big I really try to, from a nightstand standpoint, that, and I
Mhm.
can't even tell you that I do my whole routine always at once, which is also okay. It's totally
Right.
okay. I usually by 5 o'clock, if I've been running around or I've been working, I go and wash my face before dinner. Guess what? That if I only get to washing my face and taking kind of like the grime and the environmental stressors, the chemicals,
Right.
just from being out off of your skin, that is a benefit all on its
Yep.
own. And then I
Yep.
go back and I use my toner or my essence, which essence is just usually more hydrating, and my serum and my moisturizer and my night cream and my eye cream. And, there's a lot of other steps for me now, but it's taken a long time to get here.
Yep.
And also what's convenient. Um,
Right.
if you only wash your face in the shower, then have something you can use in the shower that makes it's in your face,
Right.
it's easy um, to not break those habits. So simplify
Mhm.
the process. And then mentally, again, it's like, it just gives you time to pause.
Mhm.
We can talk about masks, for example. It's a great opportunity to do a deep cleanse.
Mhm.
You don't have to do it every day. So
Right.
if you wash your face regular and you use an eye cream or a moisturizer, which are the most important steps, and then you do a mask, and there's so many different types out there. from
Mhm.
physical exfoliation to chemical exfoliation, from bamboo beads to non-bamboo beads. Like there's just a lot of things to consider, but really just choose a mask and do it twice a week or do it every other
Mhm.
day. Do it your Sunday ritual, like with your glass
Yep.
of wine at night or your cup of coffee or your tea. And that's a little longer. So that should be your special treat to yourself during the week.
Yes. I was just telling one of my clients about this the other day, and I was talking about like what I do to kind of like treat myself
Right.
once or twice a week. And a mask is part of that. And I was like, it doesn't take long. Like it's,
Yeah.
I leave it on my face for 10 or 15 minutes, but usually I'll put it on a few minutes before I hop in the shower.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'll do other things, but sometimes I'll even get in the
Us-
shower and just do the rest of my shower routine and
And
then
then you
wash it
wash
off
your
at the
face.
end. And it's not
Yeah.
like taking me any more time. I've already been doing all of those things, but then I
Right.
feel great. I feel like I have this like fresh
Yeah.
face
Right.
and yeah,
I
it's
usually go do
really
other
good.
stuff. I put on my mask and I was like, oh, 10 minutes sounds like such a long time. And
Yeah,
I
it's
might
not.
fold laundry. And
Mhm.
I'll be honest, I can come down with my charcoal mask and my kids and my husband are like, what are you doing? But that's okay because it's getting done. It's just getting
Yep.
done. It's about fitting it in wherever it works for you.
Mhm. That's right. That's right. And I will say, there's so many times when if my kids are being a little challenging, like in the evening, I will disappear upstairs to like wash my face, and I'll just be like, I'm just going to drown out whatever else is going on, all the
Right.
chaos
Wash
for
my
like a couple of
face.
minutes. I wash
Mhm.
my face. I'm going to feel better. It's going to like wake me up a little bit, and
Right.
I'm going to be ready to tackle
The next step of the
all the
evening.
day. So, can skincare be self-care? I think we touched on this already. I
Right.
think the answer is yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so I guess, the question is how so? Like, is it the pampering aspect? Like, what part of it makes it feel like that it checks that self-care checklist?
For me, it's self-care because I've come to understand and learn so much about all the areas of life where we're like, whether it's stress
Mhm.
or there might be a week where you're not eating as well and you're like, okay, so it needs to be, if it's not, part of everything you do in your life to be able to move forward in whatever area, like as a whole, not just on
Mhm.
skincare or wellness specific. We think about, I see it as wellness and healthcare. Skincare
Mhm.
needs to be one aspect, just like people do meditation. Um,
Right.
it needs to just be something that's talked about really from a healthier standpoint, from a true wellness standpoint, versus
Mhm.
just like, oh my gosh, I got a breakout and
Right.
I need to wash my face this week more. Well, if you create habits to that and I don't even know what the word is, if you really make it part of everything else in your life, so do what
Right.
works in order for it to be a small habit that you can add to and that you're not going to break. You're not going to want to break it because it
Yep.
makes you feel better. You'll see the results. And you probably know this just like me. You notice the results actually sooner than you think. And other
Mhm.
people, just like in other areas of life, they will notice the results or consequences, however you want to call them, results
Right.
probably being a more positive word, sooner than you will.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
really believe it needs to be part of wellness overall.
Absolutely. And something that, is preventative versus reactive. Because I always felt
Yes,
like for me, skincare was like reactive. So when I had a
correct.
pimple or when I was breaking out, then I was like, oh, I need to get on my routine or I need to
Mhm.
try something new or, versus now it's preventative. Like my skin
It
is
is.
much clearer than it ever has been. And some,
Mhm.
you could certainly say that's due to age and
Right.
diet, like other factors, but I 100% think my skincare routine has played a large role in it because
Mhm.
I'm consistently
Yes.
and I'm treating it and I'm moisturizing properly and I'm doing all these things that's keeping my skin more in balance.
Right.
And so I'm doing it preventatively. I'm
Mhm.
investing in myself. Like when I talk about self-care with clients, I always talk about, yes, you can do these big elaborate things like a spa day and a girls trip. Like those are great, but like what
And
are
they're
you
a treat.
doing daily?
Yes.
What are
Mhm.
you doing daily for yourself? Are you preparing nourishing food? Are you getting physical activity? And then are you taking care of your skin? Because
Right.
that's something a few minutes a day that will go a long
Long
way.
way. And you talk about preemptive care, and that is so true. I'm 51 and people talk about wrinkles, and there's a lot of things and ways you can address that. but if you do it earlier, just like sun prevention or sunspots prevention and wearing sunblock, it just goes so much further. One of the reasons, and I think we kind of probably go into this, but one of the reasons I love BeautyCounter and how I really got convinced was that when I started using it, I noticed a difference. I noticed it. I had been using other brands, and when I noticed a difference with this particular, and I'll say it now, I know we're prepping for it for later, but my favorite one, the first one, because now I have a couple, was the Counter Time Cleansing Oil. It was just good for my skin. It helped moisturize it. And I just noticed a difference. I didn't realize that I needed more moisture in my skin. Was I drinking enough water?
Right.
Not. But you can look at it from different standpoints. So yeah, absolutely creating the habits, finding what works for your life without making it complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dig a little bit more about BeautyCounter. Can you tell us a little bit about it? You know, why it's so important to have these like clean and sustainable products?
Yes. So I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I might pick up my notes because I wanted to make sure that, you know, as a consultant, I've come to learn a lot in the last 2 years, like a lot, probably more than anybody would want to share. But BeautyCounter fell in my lap. I had been using the products for probably 3 years, and I literally started because I needed new makeup. I didn't know anything about the company. I went to a women's conference and I talked to someone just like me, and they were like, just try it. And I was just like, you know, not so sure. I want to change. I don't know what I'm doing. What do I need? I didn't want to buy a whole package of stuff like we mentioned before. You know, we all use enough things and probably spend enough money on everything else in terms from a product standpoint. And I said, all right, I need new makeup. So I'm going to try it. I was like, I kind of like that. And then I tried 2 years in after just using their makeup, which come a long way, by the way, in sustainability and environmentalism and in beauty industry, which is a whole other ballgame, and we could probably have a whole other conversation about that.
Sure.
I learned about it. I love the product, and I decided that when I used that one particular cleansing oil, well, the cleansing oil, is I just fell in love with it. I'm not a doctor, but I realized that it was making a difference. I say that I used to get headaches and then I did that, you know, there's probably more than one thing that came into play there. But for me, that was like a tipping point. BeautyCounter is an organization that I'll talk about it in 3 main pillars, really. The most important, which, as you know, my tagline, it's let's learn together. Because I believe, because like I said at the beginning, to me, it was so important to share what I had learned, even if it's just little tidbits, without really expecting anything in return. People worry, right? Somebody's going to try to sell you something, but we're here, we're just sharing information. And that's truly what it's about. People get to make their own decisions and their own choices. All you can do is share what you know. So the more I learn, the more I'm able to share. So it's education first, and advocacy. BeautyCounter advocates in Congress and Parliament for additional regulations, but not just for BeautyCounter and not just for skincare and makeup, but across the beauty industry. You're talking hair products, you're talking nail salon, and they've helped pass 8 laws in Congress in the United States. I don't know about Parliament, but I know there's some other things that have happened there. And the most recently in Maryland. So it kind of hits closer to home. It's in our backyard here in Virginia, but they apply across the board. So why? Because we want a safer industry. What does that mean for BeautyCounter? And the third pillar is having efficient products. Because who wants a product that's not going to work, right? You don't want to waste that time, energy, money. So why does BeautyCounter do that? Because they truly believe that it's good for the consumer. It's not just good. They're a B certified corporation. They're a billion dollar company recently acquired by the Carlyle Group. And the importance to that is that they vetted all their manufacturers, or the supplier chain from beginning to end, because they're concerned about human rights. And that's important. That I had never thought about any of those things that come into the sustainability process.
Right.
And then you want a company that is transparent. That's truly what it comes from. So you're going to hear a lot about the clean industry. The clean isn't defined. If something is a preservative, that does not mean it's bad for you. BeautyCounter now has 2,800 ingredients that they just won't use. And why?
Interesting.
Because they have been either linked, or there is a possibility that they may cause some sort of harm or damage, whether it's a cancer causing agent, whether it's an endocrine disruptors, you know, and that is what BeautyCounter looks at. And so for me, that was important, or it became important the more I learned was, okay, so why am I gonna do this other brand or another product if I know that this one is doing the right thing? And B certified corporation really means, I don't know if you know, but it's that it's people first and profits after.
Okay.
So that's a bit.
I love that. I love it. I love the education standpoint. I mean, I'm all about education and, you know, teaching people, you know, what foods are great to, you know, put in their body and, you know, all about physical activity and wellness. So I love the education piece of it. I also love like the advocacy, because, you know, not everyone is going to be reading the back of every product or understand, even when they do read it, knowing what is good and what's not good and what regulations are around. I mean, you know, when you talk about like supplements, like that's unregulated industry, and people think, oh, well, if it's in a bottle and it says it works, it must work. And, you know, those things can be harmful, and they only get investigated after they cause harm, which is a problem. And so I feel like the beauty industry is similar to that. Like, you know, at a young age, you know, men and women are putting all these products on their body without having any idea what they really contain and what it can do.
And the endocrine disruptors from a beauty industry standpoint is huge. I mean, people think of cancer, right? Which sounds extreme, but there's the chemicals that are untraceable. So you got to look at a traceability standpoint. The moment something is traceable, BeautyCounter will pull it off the market. And 2 years ago, they were trying to get a product on the market, and at the end, something happened with the packaging that they found right before it went to market. They found heavy metals, right? So once it becomes traceable, it's out of the shelf. What we also need to understand is that this is the first time the FDA will now be considering ingredients that are going in the beauty products, in beauty products in general, into the beauty industry. The FDA hasn't had the power to do that as regulators. And in addition to that, the FDA didn't have the power to pull them off the shelf once they were on the shelf. So unfortunately, that's been a lot of pressure on the consumer to educate themselves. And then we have, you know, clean as a whole, which is yet to be defined. You know, but some preservatives are okay. You need them for makeup. You need some sort of preservatives, or we'd be throwing out blush and lipstick like every other day. Just
yeah, well, that makes sense. So what are some of your favorite BeautyCounter products? I know you already mentioned the cleansing oil, which is one of my favorites as well.
It's a beautiful bottle.
Yes, I have it sitting right next to my sink.
Me too, on my sink. And of course, I use the whole routine, but this actually, there's a bottle now for this. It's blue. It is the overnight resurfacing peel and the vitamin C serum, and this works wonders. I grew up on an island in Puerto Rico, so sun damage is definitely a thing. But the difference that these little bottles have made on my skin, I used to have a sunspot here. I'm wearing makeup today, which I don't always, but I'm wearing makeup today, and they're just significantly diminished. The The vitamin C serum you'll use in the morning, but the overnight resurfacing peel, let me just kind of share a little bit, teeny bit about that. You use it instead of a serum at night and you leave it on. Some people like to put on their night cream over it, but what this really does is help regenerate the skin cells. It's different than it's a chemical peel, but it's not like going to the salon where you're going to literally shed skin. It is an over process. So it does take longer. However, I do have friends who have done chemical peels, at a salon. And I recommend once you shed all your skin, you need to use this for maintenance because you're not going to want to go back. The vitamin C serum, it's to brighten your skin. And that combination is, we call it the bright side dew, and it's definitely very, very powerful. Those are,
some of your favorites.
Some of my favorite.
Yes. It's so funny that you picked those three because I would say that those three are some of my favorites too. And I actually picked a different three to talk about, which is so funny because I was like trying to decide what am I going to pick to talk about? And I was going through all my things. I picked the cleansing balm. I remember I got this as I think a free gift when I hosted a pop-up with you. And I was like, I'll get that, but I'm not sure if I'll use it. I wasn't really sure. Like, I was like, will I use that? Like, I have the cleansing oil and I have the cream cleanser. Will I use this? And the answer was, yes, I will use this. And so I don't use this every night, but when I'm wearing a lot of makeup, or, if I just feel like I really need to get a good deep clean, if I have sunscreen on, something like that.
Right.
This is great. This really cleans everything, gets all my eye makeup off.
Yes. It's great for double cleansing. So if you use your regular cleanser and then you do that, if you have a lot of makeup, like after a night out or something, it is great. And it's great to get the mascara, and it doesn't feel greasy.
No, and it smells good and it's creamy. Yeah. I really like it.
Like, it seems like it's heavy, right? It's also really good for a little bit of your elbows and your heels. If you have a callus on like a toe, as we're going into warmer months, great for that. It's great for bug bites. Just little tidbits that we've learned as we use them.
Yeah, that's great. And then I also have my Reflect Effect mask. This is also one of my favorites. This is like my self-care treat. I do this once to twice a week. Usually on a weekend when I have a little more time, although I will say I did use it yesterday because I was just feeling in the mood, like I wanted to pamper myself. So I did the mask.
Valentine's Day. It was Valentine's Day.
Exactly. It took me like 10 minutes. I, put it on. I did a couple things, showered, washed off at the end. It was great. I always feel like it really brightens my skin. I love it. And then the final thing, which I kind of bought on like a whim. You've talked about this. And I have had sugar scrubs before, and to be honest, they sat in my shower for like months and months and I never used them. But I got this one. It smells amazing. And I honestly use it almost every day, which is probably too much, but I love it so much that I use it all the time. I'm going to need a refill soon. But it smells great. And I feel like it's just a good way to especially it's so dry. My skin is dry and itchy. Like this helps me. It moisturizes, it sloughs off that dry skin. I really love it. It's the sugar buff body polish.
Great choice. That is my ultimate from the Bath and Body line. The sugar scrub is my ultimate favorite. It's great. And the cleansing balm on during the winter months, it just helps you moisturize your skin. But one of the great things about the sugar scrub is that it smells good and you do feel that scrub. It's like a deep cleanse in your skin, back of the arms, but it leaves you with very soft, like you've put oil without feeling greasy.
Exactly. I feel like I'm already like moisturized and softer.
Yes.
And I do feel like I almost feel like I can give myself like a little massage in the shower.
Yes.
My arms, my legs. I really love it. I'm going to need some more soon. So talk to me a little bit about, so we're women and we've been talking a lot about skincare, but skincare is not only important for women, right? So how can men and then even young people benefit? Because, I hope to instill some better skincare habits to my children than I had.
So let me go backwards on that question. So the younger generations, our kids, you can start really at any age, as long as you're using something gentle. They don't need a scrub. You
Right,
just
right.
want to make sure the most important part is that to create that habit, create it as early, just like they learn to brush their teeth. How do you wash your face?
Right.
And we need to remember that we need to take care of our necks. Sometimes we only go to here. So we got to go all the way. Even with the scrubs, we should be able to go a little further. So that's children or
Kids.
as they get a little older, young adults, teenagers,
Mhm.
they have hormonal changes. And so if you've instilled that habit, it's a lot easier to maybe get a different cleanser or add a next step. You want to add a moisturizer. Part of breaking out throughout that process is not just keeping the face clean, right?
Mhm.
So you want to take off the dead layers of skin and cells, but you also
Right.
want to be able to help regenerate that. So you don't, and if you dry out, your skin will overproduce, and then it's a horrible combination of clogged pores and overproduction of oil.
Yeah.
That's what your body's normally doing. Men, I love that you
Yes.
asked that. I have a few stubborn ones on household. But men have skin just like women do.
Yeah, they sure do.
Their
Yeah.
skin, their skin is thicker and they will produce more oil. So you would think that they don't need to moisturize as much, but their skin actually can get really dry. And part of the
Okay.
reason is because they tend to, although we're seeing an industry change now for a few years, where they're tending to take better care of themselves, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. They need moisturizer. They need a good cleanser. They need a good beard oil, which we don't have, but those things will help them. And just like we mentioned it for women, men, aging signs will show just like they show in your hands. They show in men just like they show in women. They also,
Right.
so if they instill that habit from the get-go, again, from a young age, it will be a lot easier than trying to having them turn 50 and then you're trying to change that backwards.
Right.
So, and keep it simple. Do they just watch? My husband washes his face in the shower. Guess what? Counter match.
Right. Here's the stuff.
It's just easy. The shampoo,
Yep.
I changed his shampoo. And I'm really happy to say that he likes it.
Yep.
Just like it hasn't always been the case. Like we dropped something that he was using because he just felt that was right for him, but
Right.
it didn't matter. And yes, in my house it's BeautyCounter, but I'll be honest, there are other options on there to consider. Just make sure you get educated or talk to somebody about why or why not and what you should be looking at.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I've been getting my husband slowly into a few things. He's been doing some of his own because the beard oil you mentioned, like
Yes.
he will occasionally grow out a beard and he's trying to make sure he's like, I need to make it softer. And so he's been exploring that. But I did convince him to do a charcoal mask with me a few weeks ago and he liked it so much so that he was like, I could do that again. Like if like maybe sometime if you ever wanted to get me some. So guess what he got yesterday for Valentine's Day was a bottle of charcoal mask. And I will probably also use it, but I was like, this is great. Like, I was like, you absolutely should be like cleansing your pores and cleaning your face and just like, you're working out in the gym and eating all this great food, like this is another piece of it and it's not just reserved for me.
Right. I think it's kind of funny that they think it's like, I wish I had some sort of percentage, but because I know it's increasing, and statistics would kind of make our points very clear, but I'm really happy to hear that he was willing to try it. My husband, I usually just go looking, but
and it's funny, and probably part of it is because if they don't wear makeup, it's like, oh well, washing your face is a way to like remove makeup, and sure that does do that, but it also just cleanses and washes off all of the sunscreen and the, like you said, the environmental sweat and everything else that we
think about that. We don't think about what's out there. It's like taking off your shoes. Like we should really probably all be taking off our shoes when we walk in the door. Do we always do it? Probably not all the time, but you're conscious, and the more conscientious you become about it, the easier it'll be to make those changes, right? In my household, though, I also have 2 teenage boys, and they do wash their face. So it's a lot easier with them than it is as you get older.
Yeah, no, I think that's so great. And I can't wait, my kids are on the younger end. So I will say my daughter does, I think, kind of sneak some of my stuff in the shower sometimes. And she's like in there, like putting stuff on her face. And certainly she's fascinated with makeup, as most
Of course,
little girls are. So it's
girls,
always like,
yeah.
Mommy, can I have lipstick?
I
And can I have
know.
eyeshadow and all this? So,
Yeah.
I'm glad that, they're seeing me establish these habits, and that they'll hopefully
It's an
follow in
example.
those
And one more
footsteps.
thing for men, just like we talked about endocrine disruptors on the female body, the same thing happens to the male body. They are not
Mhm.
immune.
Right.
It happens. It works the same way. If they're
Sure.
using hair gel, or, we talked about beard oil, but like shaving cream, any lotion, all of that. I mean, you could go into laundry detergents, right? Like there's so much that our bodies already absorb. And note that people generally use, females especially, tend to use more products than men, but in the morning, at least 12 products. And you're talking toothpaste, hair gel, shampoo, soap, deodorants, all of that, 12. And it only takes 30 seconds for those ingredients that could be harmful or not to be absorbed into your bloodstream. So it's eye-opening. And those were the things where I was just like, what on earth are we doing? Like, why? There is no reason. There's really no reason for us to, other than it can be difficult, right? To form the habits. But
and it's so interesting, because almost as you become more educated, it almost makes you more frustrated than with the industry as a whole. I find that with food all the time, like,
correct.
Reading labels, and I'm like, why is everything have added sugar? Like,
good question.
Everything, like, why? Like, why? It'll be like the most random, obscure thing, and I'm like, why does this need added sugar? Like, this isn't a dessert; it's a sauce or a condiment, whatever.
Tomato sauces, right?
Like, why is so much? So I could go down a whole rabbit hole on that, but it's the same with like skincare, right? It's like, why do we add in all these things? Why can't we just keep it simple? So, spring's right around the corner, which means summer's also not too far down. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of daily sunscreen?
Daily sunscreen. It's a must. Wash your face, whatever else you're going to do, and wear sunscreen. And there's different ways to wear sunscreen, right? People use, I love our tinted moisturizer. And generally speaking, that's what I use every day. But sunscreen all over your body. Do we need vitamin D? I should let you answer that question. The answer to that is yes. And then get it at 7 a.m. if you're not going to wear sunblock, right?
Right.
But generally speaking, we need to be wearing sunblock. Even indoors. People, we don't think about that. I can't tell you that I always think about it, but we need to. Why? Because the light reflected from our computers is UV light. It's also damaging to our skin.
Yeah, I think people think, it's like winter, I don't need sunscreen, and
it's
I'm sitting in my car, I don't need sunscreen, and
all the time, sunscreen. It's not, what we forget is that it doesn't just it's not just what you see, but it's actually damaging the different layers of your skin.
Right.
And so when you see a sunspot, it's because it's being damaged further down. It's just not always topical. Doesn't mean cancerous either, but sunscreen. And I can talk a little bit about, we talked about mineral versus physical sunscreens too. Versus chemical. So the mineral sunscreen reflects the light out, right? So it's not burning. The chemical sunscreen filters the light, so then it absorbs onto your skin, and then it releases it back into the atmosphere. So it's important to know that difference, because you want to use mineral sunscreens, so it's reflecting off of your skin, and therefore that's why it's thicker. Some can be pasty, some will leave you a whitish kind of residue. You know what? You can wash that off. It's more important to protect your skin, again, all over, than not.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I know growing up, I always like tan. I didn't sunburn very much. So I would use a lot of like oil and things to like make me more tan. And then it was only as I got older that I appreciate more like, okay, I need more sunscreen. I need to be taking care of my skin better. I don't want, you know, obviously the risk of skin cancer, but like the wrinkles, all the things. And then, you know, as soon as my kids were born, it was like, they were always slathered with sunscreen, slather. And so it's like, yes, it's important for them, but it's important for me too. Like, you know, their skin is fairer, so they might burn easier, but that doesn't mean that just because I'm not burning, it's not impacting my skin.
Correct.
So
yeah, the impact goes way beyond what you can see, especially right away. And with kids, it's again that habit forming trait. I don't know. It's just should be one thing that we teach them to do.
Right. You know, this is just what we do.
This is what we do. Yes, this is just what we do. Yeah.
Well, this has been so fun chatting with you and learning more about, I learned some new things today that I didn't know, which is awesome. Is there anything you wanted to share before we kind of wrap up?
The one thing I think I'd like to share is that I just want to, you know, I mean, this is it. I want everybody to know that I'm here to answer questions. They can reach out to me, to you. And I'm happy to help them just try to figure it out. Don't make it complicated. Start with one thing and stick to that. Again, find a good cleanser. And I'm here to answer their questions and help them figure it out. They'll get to make their own choices.
Yeah, I love that.
It's been a pleasure. This was really fun.
Educate and advocate, and you know, you're not telling people that they should throw away everything in their cabinets.
No, absolutely
you know,
not.
It's come talk to me and maybe learn something, and then make your own educated decision about what's best for you. And that's what I try to do with my clients too, right? Is I can't force anybody's hand, nor would I want to. It's all about like education. And I make suggestions, they make decisions, and hopefully they're taking out, you know, of our conversation, the important pieces that will help them be more educated, and make things, you know, make the better decisions.
Educate yourself and make your decisions. Yes.
Yeah.
It's been
thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was so fun.
And
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye. Thank you.